Imagine standing before a vast horizon where every dream, every goal, every vision you've ever held is waiting for you. The life you've always longed for is right there, within reach. Yet something keeps you motionless, unable to step forward. It isn't the distance. It isn't the challenge. It's a quiet inner whisper telling you, you're not ready. You're not capable. You're not enough. That whisper has a name: hesitation. And it's the single biggest obstacle standing between you and the future you deserve. But here's the truth. That voice isn't really you. It's a collection of old stories, fears, and borrowed opinions that settled into your mind over the years. It's a safety mechanism created to protect you from disappointment. But in trying to shield you from pain, it also blocks you from greatness. Think of it this way. Hesitation is like fog on a runway. It makes you believe you can't take off. Yet the runway is clear, the plane is ready, and you already have the power to fly. Let me share a story. There was once a scientist, considered ordinary in his youth, who doubted whether his curiosity mattered. He nearly abandoned his research because teachers told him he wasn't special. That man was Albert Einstein, the one who reshaped physics forever. His genius wasn't born from avoiding doubt. It was born from daring to keep going in spite of it. This is what so many never realize. The voice of hesitation is not a verdict. It's a signal of potential waiting to be unlocked. Every time that inner echo says, "You can't," what it really means is, "You haven't yet." The world is full of stories where persistence triumphed over doubt. Picture Thomas Edison, who tested thousands of materials before creating a light bulb that worked. He once said he didn't fail. He simply discovered thousands of ways that didn't succeed. That's the essence of growth. Treating every setback not as an ending, but as information. Now let's talk about you. How many times have you hesitated before speaking up, before starting a project, before chasing an idea, only to watch someone else bring a similar vision to life? Think about it. While hesitation holds one person back, someone with less talent, but more courage steps into the opportunity. But this doesn't mean you've missed your chance. Far from it. It means the door is still open, waiting for you to walk through it. You see, we are not born with doubt. Watch a small child for just a few minutes. They believe they can climb anything, sing to anyone, try anything. That fearless certainty is natural. So what happens? Over time, layers of criticism, comparison, and fear begin to weigh us down. Parents, teachers, peers, sometimes even friends, not out of cruelty, but out of their own limitations, project their insecurities onto us. Slowly, that free spirit begins to shrink. But here's the empowering part. Just as hesitation was built piece by piece, it can be dismantled the same way. Every limiting belief can be replaced with an empowering truth. Every harsh word you've carried can be balanced by affirmations of your real value. Every comparison that made you feel less than can be reframed as recognition of your unique path. And every so-called failure can be seen as education, preparing you for something greater. History shows us that the people who change the world aren't those who never felt fear. They are those who chose to move forward regardless of it. Marie Curie, told that women had no place in science, went on to win not one but 2 Nobel Prizes. Leonardo da Vinci was dismissed as eccentric, yet became one of the greatest creators of all time. Their secret wasn't immunity to doubt. Their secret was refusing to let doubt be the final word. Now, let's bring this closer to you. Every single dream you've ever imagined is not random. It is not accidental. The fact that you can envision it is proof you hold the ability to create it. Desire itself is evidence of capability. The voice inside urging you toward more is not wishful thinking. It's a reminder of the potential you carry. But here's the catch. Potential means nothing without action. You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you let hesitation silence you, it will remain locked inside. And the tragedy isn't just what you lose, it's what the world loses by never seeing your contribution. So the real question is not, do I have what it takes? The real question is, will I begin? And beginning doesn't mean you have to leap into perfection. Beginning simply means taking the first step, writing the first sentence, sharing the first idea, choosing progress over paralysis. Because greatness doesn't come from waiting for perfect timing. Greatness comes from stepping forward while the timing is still uncertain. Every legend you admire once stood where you are right now, at the edge of possibility, wondering if they could. And every one of them chose to start. Today, you are invited to do the same. Let's imagine for a moment that life is like standing in front of a mirror. The reflection you see isn't just your appearance. It's the story you've been telling yourself for years. If that story is filled with doubt, the reflection looks limited. If it's filled with belief, the reflection shines with possibility. This story is called your inner narrative, and it is the single most powerful influence shaping your reality. Every decision, every action, every opportunity you recognize or ignore flows from the script you've been repeating to yourself. Think about it. Two people can face the exact same circumstance, yet interpret it in completely different ways. One sees only barriers, the other sees hidden opportunities. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in the story they choose to believe. There's an example from history that illustrates this beautifully. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on that bus, she faced the same risks and fears as anyone else in her position. But her internal story wasn't about powerlessness, it was about dignity and courage. That shift in narrative sparked a movement that transformed a nation. Now pause and reflect. What story are you telling yourself each day? For many, it sounds something like this. I'm not ready. I'm too inexperienced. People like me don't succeed. I should just settle for less. This story becomes so familiar that we stop questioning it. But here's the truth. It's not reality. It's repetition. It's a loop you've heard so many times that it feels natural, even though it's nothing more than an outdated program. And the best part? If it's a story, that means you can rewrite it. Imagine replacing "I always fail" with "every attempt teaches me something valuable." Imagine shifting "I'm not good enough" into "I am capable of growing stronger every day." These may seem like small adjustments, but they're actually life-changing. Because when you alter the narrative, you alter the lens through which you see the world. Let me give you a practical example. A young man once lost his job unexpectedly. Some might have said, "My career is ruined. I'll never recover." But instead, he chose a different story. "This is my chance to reinvent myself." That man was Jeff Bezos. That moment of redirection eventually led to the creation of Amazon. The event was the same, job loss. But the story he chose to tell about it turned crisis into opportunity. This is why it's so vital to tune into your inner voice. Your thoughts are not neutral. They're like a compass steering you toward or away from possibility. If your inner dialogue is coded with limitation, your actions will reflect limitation. But if your inner dialogue is infused with empowerment, your actions will reflect strength. Here's what you must understand. You don't need to instantly switch from negative to grandiose. If you've spent years telling yourself, "I can't," it may not feel believable to suddenly say, "I'm unstoppable." But you can shift toward the middle ground. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm building. These are believable, powerful, and sustainable. Step by step, belief compounds. Each time you honor a new story, your brain begins to search for evidence to support it. And because what you focus on expands, you'll start noticing more proof of your capability, more examples of your progress, more reasons to continue forward. This is exactly how change happens. Slowly at first, then suddenly, everything feels different. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't expect a towering oak overnight. You water it, nurture it, protect it, and over time it grows into something unshakable. Your new narrative works the same way. Every time you choose to speak possibility instead of limitation, you're watering that seed. History is full of people who refuse to accept the stories others tried to impose on them. Consider Vincent van Gogh. He was told repeatedly that his art was worthless, that he lacked talent. For years, he battled rejection and poverty, but his inner narrative kept pushing him to paint. Today, his works are priceless symbols of beauty and creativity. Or take Harriet Tubman, who was born into slavery, yet carried within her a story of freedom so powerful that she not only escaped, but helped hundreds of others do the same. Her circumstances screamed limitation, but her narrative spoke liberation. Your life may not require such dramatic risks, but the principle is the same. You hold the pen, you are the author, and the chapter you're writing today will shape the story you live tomorrow. So, I invite you to listen closely to your inner dialogue. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not ready," add one word. Yet. When you hear, "I can't," replace it with "I can learn." When you feel "I'm not enough," remind yourself, "I'm becoming more every day." It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to let them define you. It's about giving equal attention to your strengths, your growth, your possibilities, because the story you believe becomes the life you experience. So the question is, will you continue replaying the old narrative of hesitation, or will you begin writing the story of courage, resilience, and growth that was always meant to be yours? There's a moment that exists in every dream, a moment between imagining and acting, between wishing and stepping forward. That moment is the great divider, the line that separates those who only talk about possibilities from those who actually live them. And that moment is called the beginning. So many people wait endlessly for a perfect starting point. They say, "I'll act when I feel ready. I'll move forward when I know more. I'll begin when conditions are ideal." But here's the truth. That perfect moment never arrives. There will always be another skill to learn, another piece of information to gather, another reason to delay. Greatness doesn't wait. Greatness begins. Think about the first time you learned to ride a bicycle. You didn't wait until you fully understood balance and physics. You climbed on wobbling uncertain and you tried. Yes, you may have fallen, but each attempt brought you closer to mastery. That's exactly how every meaningful pursuit works. Consider the journey of Frida Kahlo. After a devastating accident, she could have waited for ideal circumstances to recover before painting. But instead, she began from her bed, with her body broken and her future uncertain. Today, her art inspires millions worldwide. She didn't wait for perfect conditions. She began with what she had, where she was. This is the essence of courage. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to act anyway. The beginning always carries uncertainty. You can't see the entire staircase. You can't predict every outcome. But you don't need to. You only need to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next. Every person you admire, every inventor, athlete, leader, or creator, started before they felt ready. Nikola Tesla didn't have unlimited resources when he pursued his groundbreaking experiments. Amelia Earhart didn't have guarantees when she set out to fly across the Atlantic. Their secret wasn't certainty, it was commitment. The same is true for you. Right now, the gap between where you are and where you want to be may look wide, but the bridge across that gap is built one action at a time. And here's the incredible thing. Each action you take expands your confidence. Each move forward teaches you that you are capable. Each small win fuels momentum for the next. Let's talk about the fear of being seen. Many people hesitate to begin not because they lack ability, but because they're afraid of judgment, afraid of criticism, afraid of standing out. But let me remind you, Being visible is not weakness. It's strength. When you allow yourself to be seen, flaws and all, you also allow your gifts to shine. Take Vincent van Gogh again. In his lifetime, he sold only a single painting. Rejected, ignored, misunderstood. But he kept creating, kept beginning again and again. Today, his work is celebrated across the globe. Imagine if he had stopped before he started, paralyzed by fear of disapproval. The courage to begin is not a one-time event. It is a daily choice. Every morning, every challenge, every setback offers you the chance to start again, to recommit, to continue moving forward. This is how muscles of courage are built, not by waiting for fear to vanish, but by acting in the presence of it. Each act of bravery makes the next one easier. Each beginning expands your capacity to face uncertainty with strength. Think of Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years behind bars, yet when he walked free, he began again, not with bitterness, but with vision. He didn't wait for resentment to fade or for conditions to be perfect. He began by taking steps toward reconciliation, and in doing so, reshaped the destiny of a nation. So ask yourself, what are you postponing because you're waiting for the right time? What dream sits idle because you're waiting for permission? What vision remains untouched because you're waiting to feel fearless? The invitation is here, now. You don't need the full plan. You don't need to erase all doubt. You don't need to be fearless. You simply need to begin. Write the first page. Make the first call. Share the first idea. Take the first step. Because every great masterpiece, every thriving business, every championship, every legacy, all of it began with a single, imperfect, uncertain, courageous first move. And that first move is waiting for you today. There's a word that often makes people freeze: failure. From childhood, we're taught to avoid it, fear it, hide from it. But here's a truth that will change the way you see your journey. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the pathway to it. Every great achievement in history is built on a foundation of mistakes, trials, and missteps. Success is not a straight line. It's a staircase carved from attempts that didn't go as planned. Think about Henry Ford. Before revolutionizing the automobile industry, he launched multiple companies that collapsed. Investors abandoned him. Critics laughed. Yet every misstep taught him something vital, and those lessons became the blueprint for Ford Motor Company, which transformed the way the world moves. Failure is not a verdict. It's feedback. It's life's way of showing you what doesn't work, so you can discover what does. But here's the challenge. Most people see failure as evidence they aren't capable. They think, I failed, so I must not be good enough. In reality, failure says the opposite. You tried. You were brave enough to step forward, and now you're wiser than before. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost elections, faced personal heartbreak, and endured countless disappointments. Yet each experience gave him resilience, perspective, and wisdom. Eventually, those lessons shaped him into one of the most respected leaders in history. His defeats weren't dead ends, they were stepping stones. This is the beauty of failure. It toughens you, sharpens you, and clarifies what matters most. Let's take another perspective. Failure is a filter. When you stumble, you learn how deeply you care. If a goal doesn't survive the weight of failure, maybe it wasn't your true calling. But if, after failing, your passion still burns, that's proof it's worth pursuing. Consider the story of Ludwig van Beethoven. Told that he would never be successful, mocked for his unconventional style, he pressed on. Later, he lost his hearing, a crushing blow for a composer. Yet instead of surrendering, he created some of the most extraordinary music the world has ever heard. His setbacks didn't silence him. They fueled him. Failure also develops humility. It reminds us we don't have all the answers. It keeps us open to growth, to learning, to collaboration. And humility builds empathy. When you've stumbled, you understand what it feels like to struggle, and that makes you kinder, wiser, and more capable of lifting others. But perhaps the most important truth about failure is this: it's temporary, unless you choose to make it permanent. A failed attempt does not make you a failure. You can fall without staying down. You can lose a battle and still win the war. The only true failure is quitting before the lesson is learned. So how do we reframe failure so it becomes fuel instead of fear? First, see every setback as feedback. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What did this teach me?" That one question turns defeat into education. Second, take small, consistent risks. Don't wait for massive, all-or-nothing leaps. Make small experiments, try new approaches, and if they don't work, adjust quickly. This way, the cost of each failure is small, but the lessons add up in powerful ways. Third, celebrate failure as proof of courage. Every stumble means you stepped outside your comfort zone. Every mistake means you dared to try. That's worth more than sitting safely on the sidelines, never attempting anything at all. Think about Thomas Edison again. When asked how he felt after thousands of unsuccessful attempts, he replied, "I haven't failed. I've just found thousands of ways that don't work." That perspective didn't just create the light bulb. It created a mindset of unstoppable resilience. Now, let's bring this to you. Imagine the possibilities if you embraced failure as a teacher instead of an enemy. Imagine what doors would open if you saw mistakes not as proof of inadequacy, but as stepping stones toward mastery. You might launch a business that doesn't work at first and discover the breakthrough idea in the process. You might attempt a project and stumble, only to learn skills that prepare you for something bigger. You might fall short of a goal and realize that the setback clarified your real path forward. Every failure contains a seed of growth. Every setback carries the blueprint of your comeback. So don't avoid failure. Don't hide from it. Lean into it. Learn from it. Rise above it. Because on the other side of failure lies the wisdom, resilience, and strength that make success not only possible, but inevitable. Remember, the ones who fail the most often succeed the most, because they never let failure be the final word. Here's a truth that surprises most people. Extraordinary achievements are not created through giant leaps. They are built through small, consistent actions, the kind that seem almost invisible in the moment, but compound into unstoppable results over time. The novel that inspires millions begins with one sentence. The company that reshapes industries begins with one conversation. The marathon begins with one step. But we live in a culture obsessed with overnight success. We crave instant results. We want transformation in weeks when it often takes years. And because of this, we underestimate the true force that changes everything. Small, daily actions. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. He didn't spark change in India with one grand gesture. It was daily consistency, quiet persistence, one march, one speech, one conversation at a time. Each step seemed small, but together they ignited a movement that altered the course of history. Now bring it closer to your life. What would happen if, instead of waiting for the perfect plan, you simply took one step today? Not a giant leap, just one. One workout, one page of writing, one phone call, $1 saved. It might not look like much, but do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. Soon those small steps become habits. Habits become momentum, and momentum transforms everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who wants to write a book, but feels overwhelmed by the size of the project. So instead of focusing on the finish line, they commit to writing one paragraph every morning. That's it. One paragraph. After a month, they've got pages. After 6 months, chapters. After a year, a completed manuscript. That's the power of small actions. They are deceptively strong. They look insignificant in isolation. But over time, They build a future that feels unstoppable. Think of Serena Williams practicing serves. Not once, not twice, thousands of times. Each repetition looked small, but it built the foundation for her legendary career. Or consider Stephen Hawking, who despite immense physical challenges, wrote, researched, and worked consistently. Tiny actions that expanded into discoveries that changed humanity's understanding of the universe. The principle is the same. Greatness is built brick by brick. But here's where most people go wrong. They quit too soon. They take small actions for a week, maybe two, and when the results aren't dramatic, they stop. They dig up the seed, because they don't see a tree. But growth is happening even when you can't see it. The seed is building roots. The foundation is forming underground. And when the time is right, the results will show, all at once, in ways that look miraculous to everyone else. Think of the bamboo tree. For years, nothing seems to happen. Then suddenly, it shoots up dozens of feet in weeks. Was the growth only those weeks? No. It was years of unseen progress, compounding quietly until the breakthrough arrived. Your actions work the same way. And here's the most exciting part. Small actions don't just create external results. They transform you internally. Every time you honor a commitment to yourself, you build self-trust. Every time you choose progress over perfection, you build resilience. Every small step you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. This is why successful people aren't necessarily more talented. They're simply more consistent. They cast enough votes for their future self until that future becomes inevitable. So stop asking, "Can I do it all?" and start asking, "What can I do today?" Can you read one page? Yes. Can you walk for 10 minutes? Yes. Can you write one sentence? Yes. Can you save one coin? Yes. That's how mountains are climbed. That's how legacies are built. That's how lives are transformed. And here's the beauty. Small actions are always available. No matter how busy you are, no matter your resources, no matter your circumstances, you can always do something. You can always take a step. Every empire, every innovation, every masterpiece, every victory, they all began small. So, what step will you take today? Not someday, not next week. Today. Because every small action is proof that you are moving, proof that you are serious, proof that you are capable. And when small actions compound, they don't just create success. They create unstoppable momentum. We've talked about silencing hesitation, rewriting your inner story, finding the courage to begin, turning failure into fuel, and harnessing the unstoppable power of small actions. But all of this builds toward one ultimate destination, living your truth. Because at the end of the day, success is not just about achievements, money, or recognition. True success is living a life aligned with who you really are. A life where your choices reflect your deepest values, where your actions mirror your authentic self. And yet, most people never reach this place. Why? Because they spend their days performing for others, chasing approval, and living by someone else's script. They silence their own desires to satisfy expectations. They ignore their calling to fit into roles they were never meant to play. But you are different. You wouldn't be listening to this if something deep inside you wasn't already whispering, "There is more. I am meant for more." That whisper is your truth, and it's time to live it. Living authentically doesn't mean abandoning everything overnight. It doesn't mean dramatic, reckless changes. It means aligning, step by step, choice by choice, with the person you were always meant to become. It means asking yourself, what do I actually want? Not what others say I should want. What lights me up, even if no one else understands? What vision keeps returning to me, refusing to be silenced? When you answer these questions honestly, you begin to unlock the freedom of authenticity. Look at Maya Angelou. She faced rejection, criticism, and obstacles at every turn. Yet she refused to let the world define her. She wrote her truth, spoke her truth, lived her truth, and in doing so, she became a voice for millions who had been silenced. Or consider Nikola Tesla, ridiculed in his lifetime for ideas too strange to be taken seriously. Yet he followed his vision relentlessly, and today his work shapes the modern world. His truth was misunderstood in his era, but authenticity has a way of outlasting doubt. Living your truth requires courage, because it means some people will not understand. Some may criticize, some may even resist your growth. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their doubts are not your destiny. Their limitations are not your limits. Your responsibility is to honor your voice, because when you do, something extraordinary happens. The energy you once wasted pretending, performing, and pleasing suddenly becomes available for creation, for passion, for purpose. The stress of living a double life dissolves, and you discover a freedom deeper than anything external achievement can provide. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop chasing approval, you attract the right people. When you live authentically, you magnetize opportunities aligned with your values. When you choose truth, you open the door for miracles. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. The world needs you, fully, unapologetically, powerfully you. Your dreams are not random. They chose you for a reason. Your gifts are not accidents. They were entrusted to you because you are meant to use them. Your truth is not optional. It is essential. So I ask you, what would your life look like if you lived your truth without hesitation? What goals would you pursue? What fears would you release? What dreams would you finally bring into the light? Because here's the final truth. The clock is ticking. Time will pass, whether you choose authenticity or not. One day, you will look back, and in that moment, the only question that will matter is, did I live true to myself? Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for the world to understand. Begin now, live now. Step boldly into the life that belongs to you. Stop doubting. Start believing. Stop shrinking. Start rising. Stop postponing. Start living. Because your truth is waiting. Your dreams are calling. And the world is ready for the contribution only you can make. This is your moment. This is your time. Live your truth.